Hello everybody and welcome to your Hatha practice. So today we're working into hip flexor muscles. So thinking about rectus femoris, so these major kind of hip flexor muscle that runs over into our hips, obviously. We're also going to work a little bit into psoas as well, sartorius muscle as well that crosses over a little bit. So this is another nice muscle to work into. It's not going to be all stretching. It's going to be a bit of strengthening as well. So we also want to strengthen hip flexors as well as stretch them out. So just be aware of that if you want to take a little less, you can take a little less. If you want to take a little more, knock yourself out and go a little bit stronger. First thing we're going to do, lie on our bellies. Now you will want to have a bolster or a pillow for the end of the practice, but we can ignore those for now and just allow ourselves to lie down onto your front and relax. Oh, this is where I want to be today, just here. Now I'm just, for the purpose of the microphone, I'm just going to keep my head a little bit lifted, but you can drop your head completely down to the floor. And take a moment maybe just to wiggle the hips, get comfortable. The first place we're really going to think about is allowing the breath to move in and out through the nose into the belly. And just starting the awareness of softening into our hip flexor region. So when we think about psoas muscles as well, remember they attach to the spine, the deep kind of core area. And we think about our rectus femoris, we only think really thighs, but remember they cross over the hips. So we want to relax our legs a little bit here today as well. We will get them activated, but just trying to settle into your body to begin with. Let's take another couple of breaths, relaxing on our fronts, calming down our nervous systems. As when we activate into the rectus femoris, psoas, those hip flexor muscles, we can often be triggering into that kind of fight or flight response. So it's important to combine this with rest and recovery as well as activation. So let's make our way up onto our forearms into a sphinx position, a gentle sphinx pose. And encouraging a little bit of a pull-in on the elbows to stretch out through the abdomen a little bit more. Now we're not throwing the head all the way backwards, we're keeping the chin a little bit parallel to the floor and think about pulling out through the back of the head. So the skull, the back of the skull is lengthening. If you want to tuck your tailbone a little bit so that you're pushing the hips a bit more into the ground, you can, if this agitates your lower back. Or you can relax the back of the body if you're finding that your flexibility in your spine feels great. Just listen to your body, encouraging a bit of awareness of what might be felt in the front line of the body. Now, all we're going to do to change this is bend the knees. That's it. Now, remember we worked hamstrings, or if you've done the hamstring practice, we can flex the feet and engage the hamstrings, which will help to stretch out the front of the thighs. Keep that awareness of not pushing your butt up to the sky, so keep pushing the pelvis down into the floor. And all this is doing is encouraging a little bit of space to the front line of the body. So you don't have to pull your heels as close as they can go into the bum. You can just let them bend. You can even point the toes if this feels nicer as a stretch across the front of the ankles as well. One more breath. Good, so straighten the right leg away. We're going to roll onto the right hip, maybe catching the head into the hand. And if you cannot reach your left foot, we just bend the heel close towards the buttock. If you can grab the foot, you can pull the heel closer and try and keep the knee in line with the right knee, or if you have more flexibility, pushing slightly back. Now, if you prefer, you can bring the left hand in front and just push the thigh back here if that feels nicer, but avoid taking too much pressure into the lower back. So we're pulling in, and then think of the knee reaching away towards the foot, and you'll get a nice gentle stretch here. Depends on your flexibility, so if you cannot reach the foot, you can also grab hold of the ankle, or you can just allow that knee to bend as much as it needs to. We will still get a stretch on the front of the thigh. Let's take another breath here. Now, releasing the foot, if you've got hold of the foot, and straightening the left leg back behind you as far as you can go, and then reaching the left arm forward. So you get that little spiral fascial connection. I love this stretch across the hip flexor, feels amazing. Good, keep breathing. And then we gently come back round onto the forearms, drop the hips into the earth, back to your Sphinx position. And maybe if it feels nice, you can extend the elbows. I like to squeeze the buttocks here just to support my lower back. Do what works for your body. If you still want to stay in Sphinx position and pull the elbows in, stay here. It depends on the flexibility of your lower back, obviously, and all of us are unique in this area, so please be very mindful of that. Let's take another breath. And then as we fancy it, we might want to bend the knees, point the toes, get that stretch to the front line of the body. Go easy on your body. So if it feels too much like hamstrings having to activate, hamstrings, then back off a little bit. If it feels really lovely, just keep going. One more breath. Now, if your elbows are raised off the floor, drop them back down to the earth, straighten the left leg away, roll onto the left hip. You can catch the head into the hand, and we're just pulling that right heel towards the glute, and think of reaching the right knee away. Again, you can grab hold of the foot if you have that availability in your knee joint. And then we can just feel that stretch through your thigh. Remember, this right hand can just be placed in front of you and you don't have to grab the foot at all. I love stretching out the front of my thighs. I used to really hate it. It used to be like my nemesis sort of stretching. Anything kind of thighs and hips I hated. And it took me probably a good couple of months to be able to actually get down into a saddle position, which we're going to explore a bit later. I used to hate it, but now I kind of love it. They're big muscles, the hip flexors. So we'll release the foot, straighten the right leg, and push it behind you. Not taking too much pressure into your lower back, and then reach the right arm diagonally over towards the right side, so you get even more of a stretch. Taking it into the back, into the spiral fascial lines. Feels amazing. And then slowly coming back onto your belly, into your Sphinx position. Final time. We're going to keep the forearms down this time. We're going to start to bring a little bit of strength in. So tuck the toes under, lift the knees off the floor, and we're going to lift the hips up as high as they want to go, and then lower the hips back down slowly back into the earth. They can hover over the floor. And again, we lift the hips up, and we slowly lower the hips down. Hover. Two more. Lift the hips up, and slowly lower them back down. Last time, lift the hips up. And then come back into where we find we're a bit more neutral. We're going to just tap the right knee and tap the left knee. Tap, 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 tap. Whole body should be like, oh yeah, hi, hello, waking me up now, Kate. I was enjoying those nice little stretches at the beginning. Good, couple more. Good, then the right knee is going to come down into the earth. So we're landing into that forearm tabletop position. And we're slowly going to lift up the left leg, feeling the hip flexor get a stretch, but not just dipping into your lower back. Draw the left knee in towards the chest and extend it back. So avoiding sinking too much into your spine. Bring the knee in towards the chest. and extend it back. 2 more, draw it in and extend it back. Lovely. Last time, draw it in. This time as we draw it in, come in as far as you possibly can and place the knee down as close towards the right elbow as possible, and then slide the left leg away. Again, if you're working with knees, if this feels really harsh, keep the knee at a right angle and just extend the right leg back. Now, if you're finding this is nice, we can come up onto the hands and get a stretch. You might discover tucking the right toes and lifting the right knee feels super yummy. Yeah. Maybe we come onto the fingertips. Maybe even more, we reach the left arm up, or we reach the right arm up, or both. So remember, this is quite a deep back bend, a little bit of balance control. You can always drop that right knee down or keep it extended. Breathe. Remember, if you're finding this harsh on the knee, you can be up here, which is still really nice as a stretch for the hip flexors. We have plenty of opportunity to stretch, so don't go too crazy too soon. One more breath. Hands are going to come down, so bring the left hand down to the floor so we can drop onto the left butt and then sweep the leg of the right round. Hands are going to go behind you, so you're placing your hands into the floor. Left foot's going to be that stabilizer, and we're going to externally rotate the right foot. So we're keeping the right leg externally rotated the whole time. Try and think of the spine being elongated. I don't mind if you point, flex, or floint the foot. And as we lift up the right leg, keeping the knee close to the knee, we lower it back down. We lift and we lower. So we're getting the sartorius muscle here as well. Oh, it feels kind of funky. If you get any clicking in your hip, just reduce the height that you're lifting and lowering. Good, couple more. Lift and lower. Now keep it at a height you can hold it. Pulse, 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 pulse. This one is killer. 3, 2, 1. Release. Come all the way down onto your back and hug the left knee in. Try to relax the right leg. Maybe even thinking about drawing the right toes towards the top of your mat. Breathe. Good. Lovely. Take another breath here. Now drop the left foot into the floor and we're pulling that right knee in. Use your hands to push into the thigh. So your leg is desperately trying to come into your chest, but you're saying no with the hands and pushing it away. If you want to work your core a little bit more, you can lift your head off the floor, trying to keep your neck relaxed if you want to feel that central kind of engagement of your body, but you don't have to do that. We're pushing and pulling. Feeling the hip flexors engage. You'll also feel your spine, your kind of core muscles around the spine activate. One more breath. Now as we release and lengthen the right leg, we're going to lift the hips up. So you get a little extra stretch through front of the right hip flexor. Left butt muscles engage. Lower the bum back down and pull that right knee in, push with the hands. We'll speed this up a little bit. Extend away, lift the hips up, and lower, push into that thigh. One more time, we lift up, lower, push. Both feet are going to come down to the floor and we'll lift both hips up. As high as you would like them to go into your bridge position. Maybe the arms come up and over the head, if you like that extra stretch to the front of your body. And we breathe, nice and slowly. Remember, switching on the glutes, hamstrings will help release the front of the thighs and into the hips. So working with agonist and antagonist muscles. Now this is optional where we're going next. So if you would like to bring your hands underneath your bum and let your legs float up to the sky, do so. And we're going to make little bicycles up in the air, little fun bicycles. Now if you want to go into a shoulder stand variation, lift up the bum and bring the elbows into the floor. It's kind of like a half shoulder stand, so don't go all the way onto your neck. And then you can just free up the legs to make bicycles a little bit higher up to the sky. Make sure your head and shoulders feel like they have space, so we're not crushing the neck. And you can take as big bicycles as you want. It's like, we're walking through the air kind of vibe. Like flying with our legs. Good, remember you don't have to come into a shoulder stand variation here. Now pausing, we're going to draw the knees in towards the chest and just lengthen the legs away. Remember, they don't have to be straight up. We pull in and lengthen. So just getting those hip flexors to move. If you're still down here, hands underneath the sacrum, and again, just pulling in and lengthening. You don't have to come all the way down to the floor unless you fancy it and you want to work a little bit harder. So just play with what works for your body. Couple more. Pull in and extend. Pull in and extend. Good. Wherever we are, slowly, if we're in that shoulder stand variation, release gently through the spine. If you have your hands under your sacrum, release. Lengthen the legs slowly away down to the floor. And we're going to come up onto the forearms, opening up through the chest, and try and think about keeping an elongated lower back. Now, if we're working with our hip flexors, if we feel there's a little bit of weakness here or they feel a bit tight, all you have to do today is lift a little bit and lower, and we'll swap. Lift and lower. You can also bend your knee and make it a little bit less intense. Or we can lift a bit higher and lower. Higher and lower. It's like doing the can-can, but like lazy can-can. Now, if you really want to be super strong today, both legs, lift and lower. Lift and lower. Try and keep the spine in neutral. It's almost like you're doing an extension with your spine. So it's a little bit of a back bend. Oh, this one aches so bad. You got those psoas muscles going. One more. Lift and lower. Now we're going to come to the bend. So we're going to bend in and extend out. Remember, you can do this with one leg or you can do it with both. Bend in, extend, or both. Oh, we're nearly there. Keep breathing. One more. And then keeping the bend in the knees, open up the feet, push onto the hands and relax forward. Let the psoas muscles release. Oh, lovely. Sometimes it feels good to get those activations in, warming up the muscles, and then we can stretch them. Sometimes we just go into the stretching of our psoas, our kind of hip flexor region. It's not satisfying enough. We've got to get the heat going. Got to get that strength in as well as release. And although we think, well, I sit all day, my hip flexors are constantly, tight, they're also probably weak because we're not really using them. So that kind of awareness that actually strengthening doesn't shorten your muscles, it strengthens your muscles. So we're going to come all the way back round onto our forearms. Let's come back to that forearm plank position. And we'll lower our hips down towards the floor. I bet you forgot about this one, didn't you? And then lift the hips up high. Good, so it's not really a dolphin pose. It's just getting the hips up as high as they can go. Good, couple more. Lower and lift. Two more. Lower and lift. Last full one. Lower and lift, and then come back to where we feel more neutral. Let's drop left knee, right knee. Little trots. Left, right, left, right. Good. Let's do 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. So the left knee is going to come down into the floor underneath the left hip. Right leg's going to lift up, keeping out of the lower back. So try not to arch your spine too much. Right knee pulls into the chest. Only as far as the hip goes, as opposed to curling the spine. Again, lift the right leg up and bring it in. Lift it up and draw it in. Lift it up, draw it in. One more. Extend it up. This time as we draw the right knee in, go as far as it can go towards the right elbow. And slide the left leg back. And you can stay down here. Remember, if your knees do not like this, you can stay more at a right angle and just extend back with the left leg. We can then also come up onto the hands. So it's not really a pigeon pose because the foot's underneath the glute. If you want to pigeon, that's also fine. Tuck the left toes, lift maybe the left knee. That feels so lovely on the hip flexors. So you get that stretch going all the way through into the tummy. Maybe we lift right arm. Maybe we lift left arm. Maybe we lift both. You can always drop your left knee down if you need more support, or you can always grab hold of something. So I've got a cheeky radiator here, a cheeky wall. Good, finding that strength and flexibility working for you. Keep breathing. Wherever we are, let's breathe. Right hand's going to come down to the floor, come onto your right butt cheek and sweep forward that left leg, rooting down your right foot into the floor, hands behind you. So we're slightly leaning back into our hands, give ourselves that kind of support here, and we turn out the left foot, keeping the left leg close to the right. You can point, flex, I don't mind, that left foot, and we simply lift up and lower, keeping it close and externally rotated all of the time. Getting the sartorius muscle. This one, I hate and love it at the same time. It's like, I don't like this. I don't like this at all. But it's like, actually, I kind of do. Yeah, I know, I'm strange, I know. Lift and lower. A couple more full rounds. Lift and lower. One more full round, lift, lower. Now lift and hold and pulse. Pulse, this makes my leg literally shake. It doesn't have to be this high, it can be down here. Let's go 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, release. Come all the way onto the back and hug the right leg in and relax your left. So thinking about the left leg either just extending away, so you can point the toe and really expand that leg, or just let it soften and draw the right knee in as far as it can go into the center. Good, breathe. Right foot's going to come back down into the earth and we'll lift the left knee in. Remember, our hands are like little blocks. No, you're not coming any further than that. So we push into the thigh. Push, 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 push. Good. Getting that really strong engagement in your center. If you want to, the head and shoulders can also come off the floor, but relax the neck. As we extend the left leg away, we lift the hips up. So we push down through that right foot and get that extra little stretch through the left hip flexor. We'll speed it up a little bit. So bum comes down, left knee comes in, hands block. Extend, lift the hips up. Lower, block the thigh. Extend, lift the hips up. Let's go one more time. Lower, block the thigh. Extend, lift the hips up. Lower the bum, both feet come into the floor. We'll lift all the way up into our bridge position. If your arms want to travel up and over the head, they can do so, getting that stretch all the way from the knees up to the fingertips. Remember, you've got options here. Hands can come underneath the sacrum, lift the legs up and make bicycles. You might decide you want to try the other variation today, so you might be trying this one, or coming up into that kind of half shoulder stand, so your elbows are in the floor, you catch your sacrum, and you walk through the air. Don't make me sing again. You're like, no, please, Kate, don't sing again. Good, keep going. Allowing that walking, running sort of feeling, effortless on your limbs. It's kind of why swimming is so good for us, because we don't have the pressure on our joints. So we're air swimming. Now bend the knees in and just extend the legs away. Now this is easier if you're in the shoulder stand position. So if you want to drop down onto the lower back, you can. And we extend the legs as low to the ground as we feel we'd like to. You've got that coming anyway. So if you're like, I quite like easy being up in the shoulder stand, stay there. Couple more. Good, last time. If we're in the shoulder stand variation, slowly support as we melt back into the floor, or just lift the bum up and release the hands, coming all the way up onto the forearms as the legs lower. I know I'm going to make you do this again. So try and think of extending the spine slightly so we're not rounding and slouching or in some crazy back bend. We're going to lift the left leg and lower. We have options, so if you need to just bend and lift. Bend and lift you can. Work with the intensity that your legs want to, not what your mind thinks your legs should do. You can go higher. Good. Remember, if we come too high, we're not working the psoas. So it's not about kicking the leg up as high as possible. It's getting to the point you feel the hip flexors working. Good, let's try both legs, shall we? Little lift, little lower. Oh, that's juicy. So remember, if you come up too high, psoas muscles will switch off. So you want to keep it where you can definitely feel it. Yes. Let's get another couple more lift and lowers, making my whole body shake. Now let's do the bent version. So we bend the knees in, extend away, bend in. You can do this both legs or alternating. We're nearly there, guys. Bend in, extend, bend in, extend. Whew. One more. Good. Bend in. This time, open the knees, push up. We relax. Let the hips go. Fantastic. Well done. Breathe. Just allow a little bit of softening into the hips. You don't have to have your heels super close. You can walk the feet away, make more of a diamond shape. We're just letting the psoas muscles release a little bit. It's always nice to take a diamond shape with the legs to encourage a bit of release into the psoas region. Good, let's take another breath here. And then we're going to make our way up into our downward facing dog. So, down dog. Finding a bit of stretch of the backs of the legs, maybe wiggling the hips. You might just want to be still here and get a sense of being in this position for a moment. Now we have the option of doing this in down dog or tabletop position. I'll show you where we're going. We're lifting the right leg up and coming into plank, right knee to chest. Try not to round too much in the whole back. Think of this being about the leg extending back and forward. If this feels too strong in plank variation, we just have to do this in our tabletop variation, and it's just as effective on the hip flexors but just less intense the rest of the body. So let's make our way into down dog or three-legged tabletop, and we're going to shift the weight forward, knee to chest. Shift the weight back, three-legged down dog or three-legged tabletop, knee to chest, and push back. Try not to round the spine. So think this is about the hip as opposed to just the core. Pull in and extend. One more, pull in, hold, 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 hold. Good, push the ground away. Pull that knee into the chest as much as you can, fantastic. And then we'll step the right foot in between the hands. Now if you have the left knee down, extend the left leg back. Lifting the body up slowly, all the way up to that high lunge position. Oh, it feels so nice to stretch out that psoas muscle of the left leg. You can still feel the right leg active. Breathe. Now, if you want to take more, tilt the chest up slightly. So we're feeling that stretch all the way through. Avoid sinking too much into your lower back by engaging your butt muscles. Oh yeah. Good, one more breath here. Bring the hands to the heart center, or they can come to the waist. And we're going to pull the left knee in. And we're going to extend left leg back, come back into our lunge. Move nice and slowly and see if we can control the movement. In and extend back. Feeling that awareness of your hip flexors, doing some of the work, strengthening and stretching. So we're getting that beautiful combination of how they organically want to move. So every time we walk, we should stretch and strengthen, engage and release. The next time we lift that leg up, let's come back to that push. So hands push down to the thigh. Thigh wants to pull up. This one is also involved in balance as well. It's exactly the same as when we're on our back, but now we're standing. Oh yeah, one more breath. Good, we're going to step back with the left leg. Swap the pressure onto the right leg. This time we lower the knee down. Low lunge. And we can have a little bit of a movement here if you want to free up. And also, if you need a pillow underneath your knee or a blanket, this is a great opportunity to bring one of those underneath your knee. So if you're on a hard floor, highly recommend it if that feels good for you. Good, now bring the weight back so that your hip of your left is over your left knee. Now, if you're working with discomfort in your knees, this is enough for you. And all we have to do is think of pushing the pelvis forward. So we're slightly tucking the tailbone down and pushing the pelvis forward. And you should feel it up here, yeah? You feel that stretch up here as opposed to just in the thigh muscle when we lunge. So we're tucking the tailbone, slightly pushing forward. If your knee is happy to do this, you can pick up and grab the foot. Now, if you don't I can't reach my foot there, Kate, what are you talking about? You can always do this against a wall, or you can bring something behind you, or you can grab a strap. But for the sake of a kind of 30-second stretch, just work with what's right for your body. Now, if you can close the joint, close the knee joint, and still think of tucking the tailbone under. And this just sends a stretch the whole way down the rec fem. But I really want you to feel it also into the kind of hip flexor region. So if you only feel this in the center of the thigh, release and come back so you feel it up into the actual hip flexor area. It's really about paying attention to what movements change the stretch. And it can be a really simple adjustment, like a 1/4 of an inch. And you're like, oh, okay, I feel it there. Breathe nice and steady. We're holding this one just a tiny bit longer. Good. And then very slowly release, come back into that lunge. You might want to lift your pillow and place it off to the side. And as we come back up, we're going to swing the leg. Let your arms kind of help with your balance. If you need to hold on to a wall, you can, and just let the leg go. It feels quite nice to just free up this leg, like a ragdoll leg. Whee! No effort. Give it a swing. Because we're going to do the same thing we've just done, but standing. Ha! Wahaha! So evil. So we're going to bend the knee and catch the foot. Now, if you cannot catch the foot, you're just going to have to use your hamstring. How wonderful. And you can just simply be here and bend the knee, and your hamstring is switched on. Fantastic. If you need a wall to hold on to, you can for balance. If you can catch the foot, for the sake of just catching and stretching, you can take the outside of the foot, pull, and then tuck the tailbone slightly to get the stretch into the hip flexor. Now, if you want to go further and take this to more of a dancer variation, take the inside of the foot. So you're externally rotating the shoulder to grab the inside of your foot. It's going to help with the push back. Otherwise, it's very hard on your shoulder to internally rotate and try and go back. It doesn't really like that movement. So wherever we might be, if we're still tucking the tailbone, if we're still holding, you're like, Kate, my hamstring, you can relax and then come back in. If we want to go a bit deeper into this pose, now think about how your pelvis is now tucked. Let's shift the pelvis the other way. So we're kind of taking that pelvis and pushing under. And we're lifting the leg up as high as it wants to go, rather than into the flexion of the right hip. So let this be about the left hip. Maybe reaching the right arm up to the sky, and you're taking a little dancer's position. You can soften into your right knee as we extend. Love a dancer's pose. Feels great for opening up into the whole front line. And we've basically done this already on the floor. Good, one more breath. Wherever we are, slowly come back. Take your time to bring your body back into the shape. Release the feet to the floor. And we're going to come into a squat, feeling into the hips and standing back up. Try not to overextend your pelvis, but come back to neutral and just squeeze your bum. We come back into your squat and come back, feel the pelvis neutral, squeeze the bum, straighten the legs. Squat, pull. Good. Squat, pull. One more. Good. Nice little squat, hold. Now we have two options. Option one, dropping onto the heels, Drop the knees, hands behind, lift the hips. And don't think, I can't do that, if you know that you could probably try it. If it's about knees, we have a different way of coming in. So if this is your knees, we come down with the fold, knees come down, we come up and we shift the pelvis forward. So this is going to get the hips, but it's not going to be too much on your knees. If you need something else behind you, you can always have a wall behind you, or you can still come into this variation a little bit more easily and then have a go at lifting the hips forward. Remember I told you we're going to have a little go at saddle. Dun, dun, dun. Here we are. Now we're getting the whole front, so I really want you to think of tucking your tailbone under, and you should be getting the stretch from the top of the knees all the way across the hips. Feels delightful. Well, it's kind of like evil, yummy. Now try not to throw your head too far backwards, as remember your neck is a bit vulnerable in this position. Okay, now we can stay here, or we can sink the bum towards the feet and nestle your buttocks into your feet like a little saddle. You might just want to rest here. Your knees can go a bit wider if they want to. This is absolutely fine. We don't have to have our legs parallel all the time, particularly if you're feeling a lot of pain in your knees. And this might be enough. You can maybe tuck the tailbone under, squeeze, and you'll get a nice little stretch. Or, maybe we can come onto the forearms. Maybe. And we keep tucking the tailbone and push the pelvis forward. Now remember, if you're like a halfway house, like, oh, I can't get there, you might want to bring your bolster or your cushion behind you and come down onto your forearms here. Tuck and push. You can, if you're really feeling it and you're like, this is easy, I've got loads of flexibility, come down a little bit further all the way. And still have that feeling of tucking the tailbone to get that extra stretch the front of the pelvis into the hips. Remember, you are not better at yoga if you can come down further. We are simply looking for a stretch. And if you are very flexible in your hip flexors, you have more chance of actually causing damage from overstretching. So remember, it's not just better to be flexy. We're wanting to discover where we feel the sensation and being able to actually stretch into the muscles. Breathe. And if you feel absolutely no stretch, just relax and be like, well, I guess I don't really need this pose. One more breath. Now, if we're all the way down on the floor, come back up slowly, chin to chest, forearms into the ground. Make your way up gently. It's great for your ankles as well to get that stretch. And just come back forward, maybe a little child's pose to close off the front of the body. We'll make our way back into our downward facing dog, or you can stay in your child pose position. And if you want to wiggle around a little bit, by all means, have a little wiggle, if that feels nice for your legs. So taking into the second side, so we can stay in down dog, or we can come to tabletop position. Left leg's going to extend up. We pull left knee to chest. Try not to tuck everything under. Extend back, three-legged down dog or three-legged tabletop. Pull it in, extend it back. Pull it in, extend it back. Nice and dynamic, waking up the muscles. Good. One more. Hold the left knee in, hold, hold, hold. Remember, if you need to drop that right knee down at any point, you can. Try not to drop your head. It is attached to your neck, and we want to keep it nice and neutral. One more breath. Place the left foot in between the hands, push down through the left foot and lift the arms up, all the way up. And we're getting that lush stretch through the right leg. Maybe a little tilting of the chest, but keep your buttocks switched on so that you're not dumping into your lower back. We want to create a bit of support and stability as well as a stretch. Hands come to the heart center. And we're going to go slowly drawing the right knee in, slowly stepping back, high lunge, slowly pulling in, and slowly coming back. Good, one more, we come in this time. Remember, we're going to push, hands to thigh, push. I can't tell how much you're pushing on your thigh. You could be like, la, 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 or you could be really going for it. So it's up to you how much you want to work, how much your hips are feeling it today. Good, then slowly bend the left knee, swap the hands to the other thigh and extend right leg back, low lunge. Nice little stretch. You might just want to wiggle around a little bit here. It's releasing into that hip. Moment where we might want our pillow. I like a little bit of cushioning under my knee, I'm not going to lie. And then softness. So if you do need it, do take it. Now we're bringing the hip back, so that right hip is now in line with the right knee. Tucking the tailbone under and slightly shifting the pelvis forward. You do not need much here to feel the stretch, and it might need a little bit of patience to feel it. Tiny bit more tucking, tiny bit more shifting. Now, if you have the capability of catching the foot with the right hand, fine, have a go. Keep tucking and pushing and feeling what it's like in your thigh muscle, your hip flexors. If that feels too strong for your knee, forget it. If it doesn't work for your knee and you just feel pain in your knee, don't do it. My right knee does not like that. So I'm going to stay here and just breathe and tuck and push. So listen into your body and what your body would like to do today. It's different on different sides. Okay, keep breathing, nice and steady. I do love this stretch. One more breath. Good, we're going to slowly release, tucking the back toe, lift the back knee up, and we're going to come all the way up to standing, and we're going to catch, so we're going to do the same thing standing up. So grabbing hold of the foot, maybe you need a little bit of balance, so you might need to hold on to something, and again, if you can catch the foot here, tuck and push, fantastico, do so. But if it doesn't feel good, and you just want to pull in, it's great for making your hamstring work. So remember, when hamstring activates, quadriceps release. So this is great. And we're just slightly tucking the tailbone under. So we're getting that little bit of kind of a tuck and pull. Okay, keep breathing. Maybe you want to take the foot inside. So we're going inside of the foot. So your shoulders externally rotating. And we're going to then push the foot into the hand. So this is not necessarily about folding into that left hip crease. We want to get that hip flexor. So your pelvis is now pushing under. So you feel that tucking under, or the opening of your pelvis here. Tailbone pushing back. Be mindful of your spine. Maybe lift the left arm up, keeping the chest nice and high. And you can soften into your left knee. Breathe, that's quite important, isn't it? A little bit of breath. Good, as we slowly release, let's just swing the leg. Oh yeah, I didn't forget it. Kind of did, but here it is. Give it a swing. Give it a release. Use your arms here, let it go. And just let the leg freely move. Great for our balance and control as well. Lovely. Let's bring the feet together, just come into that squat variation. So we squat down. As we stand up, we squeeze the butt, straighten the legs, but don't tuck the pelvis forward. So keep it nice and neutral. We come down, push up, squeeze the bum, straighten the knees, and then come back down. So we're engaging the muscles, straightening the legs, but we're not over-exaggerating, just pinching into the lower back. Down and push. Down and push. Let's have a go, shall we? Yeah, come all the way down, knees down, and push up. Have a go. If you have a go, have a go. If you're like, no, Kate, no, sorry. You can come down, knees down, and if you know your knees do not like to close, hips can push forward. Keep the glutes activated, and just lengthen through the front of the body. Or again, you can come down this way and then lift. Toes can be tucked here. It's quite nice to get the toe tuckage in this position, because you know where we're going in a moment. Oh yeah, saddle, here we come. So we can release the feet, make a little saddle out of your feet, knees can go wide. Remember, if you're still here, you can stay here. This is great. It's a nice position to stay in. You can always take a break and come back in. Or if we're coming into saddle variation, coming in, getting settled, maybe tucking the tailbone under and pushing the pelvis forward. That might feel enough. You might be able to come onto your forearms. Maybe you need a bolster or a cushion. You might be able to come all the way down onto the floor, arms can go over the head. And we're still having that feeling of tucking and pushing to get the stretch to the front of the hip flexors. So just feel into what feels interesting for you, as opposed to just kind of pain. This one is horrible. I literally took about maybe 2-3 months doing this every single day when I was traveling, because I had time, sitting like this. This was enough of a stretch for my thighs. So just be aware that we're all going to feel different things in our bodies. Now, if you're all the way down on the floor, ease yourself back up slowly. Coming back up, walking back forward, and taking a little child's pose to just close off. Well done. All the hard work's done. The major effort is done. And we're going to grab hold of either our bolster, so if you need a bolster here, or a large cushion. So you have the option of either or. It can be a yoga block or a book if that feels good for your body. So just pay attention to what you have available as opposed to needing it to be something. It can be the cushion rolled up underneath the hips. Lift the hips up on your back and slide the bolster underneath the sacrum. So not the arch of your spine, that little flat bit just below it. And this is quite nice for lengthening out the spine, and you'll feel a nice elongation through your body. Just keep the breath moving. Good, take another breath here. Now you may want to walk your feet away. If this feels nice for your hips, both together. Maybe lengthening your arms over your head. That nice stretch at the front of your body as we soften and relax in. Maybe allowing the breath to deepen into the abdomen. Maybe closing the eyes and softening into the front of the body. We've done quite a bit of activation in this area, so allowing some softness here may be really needed. You might find it a little bit challenging to completely let go as we've intensified into this part of our body. Or it may be like, the time has come. Now, if you would like to, slide the right knee in, maybe hook around the hamstring or the shin or the knee, and take this into a variation of a deeper hip flexor stretch for your left leg. And if your right knee needs to travel slightly out to the side, that's fine. It doesn't have to be straight into the center. And just allow the left leg to go where it goes. So allow it to extend. If the knee bends slightly, that's absolutely fine. We're not having to try and intensely stretch it away. Let it be a bit soft, a bit gentle as we relax into this position. Again, you can close the eyes. You can release some of the effort. Now, if you're feeling really adventurous, you can take this to either a half happy baby variation with your right leg, opening up into the hip a little bit more. You can grab shin, ankle, or foot. It can be inside or outside. And the knee is kind of directing towards armpit or shoulder area. So it doesn't need to go, again, straight into the chest. It's going out slightly to the side. And this might increase the stretch in a lovely way into that left hip flexor. If you want, the left arm can also travel up over the head. And just feel into the sensation of opening, expanding into that left hip, and also the right, that you feel maybe some compression. And if your right leg wants to straighten, have a go. Feel what goes on in the body. Let your body guide you where it wants to be. If you know me well, you know I don't like happy baby. I don't like it. I just don't. So actually straight leg, although it's more intense, feels better for me. Now as we gently release, go out of this pose slowly, so take your time, no rush. You might bring the knee back in. You might then slowly extend the right leg away and come back to that full extension first. Maybe slide left foot in, drawing the left knee in gradually, maybe hooking underneath the knee, hamstring, maybe grabbing shin or knee and just guiding in gently. Let the knee go where it wants to go. That hip's been stretched out for quite a bit of time, so just feel into where it needs to be. Get into that comfortable space where then the right hip flexor starts to open up gently. Remember, these stretches don't have to be like aggressive. They can be quite yummy, quite nice for opening and expanding the body, as opposed to always having to be forced and active. Let it be passive. Maybe you close the eyes and allow your body to be felt on an inward experience. If you would like, you can take this to the half happy baby, maybe grabbing ankle, shin, maybe the outside, inside of the foot, wherever it feels interesting. You don't have to go here. If you're happy where you were, stay where you were. And if this feels quite weird with the knee bent, maybe straighten the leg and enjoy the stretch. Each side might have a different experience, so we can honour each experience as a unique side, as opposed to them having to be the same just because we think that's how we balance out. Balancing out our bodies might mean doing different things on different sides. Keep breathing. If your foot of your right leg floats off the floor, that's also fine. If your knee is bent, great. Maybe your right arm wants to float up to the sky, up over your head, sorry. And if there needs to be movements, if you need to straighten the left leg, that's lovely. Have a play. Now, as we travel back out of this pose, again, move slowly. Knees gonna bend in. Hug it in first. Gently lengthen it away. And then as we gradually take one final stretch, the arms can reach over the head. We'll then slide the feet in, maybe one at a time. Lift the hips up and you can roll your bolster or cushion to your heels and drop your back into the floor. If you have that cushion or bolster and you want to take it under the knees, prop it under the feet, roll the bolster so that as you drop your legs, your knees are supported. We made it to rest time. So coming into Shavasana, maybe closing the eyes. The hands can place anywhere if they want to be on your body, or they can drop to the sides. Getting comfortable, getting warm, and then allowing softness, rest. I will let you know when it's time to come out of this position. starting to bring the awareness back to your body. You don't need to move yet, but pay attention to how rested you might feel. And you are more than welcome to stay here for as long as you might need. Or if you're ready, starting to move slowly, fingers, toes, maybe rotating ankles, wrists, face muscles can move, jaw. You may need a big stretch as the arms reach over the head, lengthening through the spine, maybe wiggling. And perhaps drawing the knees slowly into the chest, maybe wrapping around the shins as you rock from side to side. And you can allow your body to slowly drop to the left or the right, coming into the fetal position. Pausing here for a moment. And then slowly, steadily, nice and easily, make your way up to seated. If you need anything underneath the sit bones, you can pop a bolster or a cushion to elevate the hips if needed. We'll close off our practice together with one final stretch. Inhale to lift the arms up to the sky, bringing the palms together. As we exhale, the hands will draw down to the heart center. Taking a moment to bow forward. Thanking yourself for your practice. Namaste. Good work, everybody. Well done.